Now let's discuss the first topic in this module, which is biological motivation. In this we will be learning the biology behind the neural networks, because the concept of neural network is similar to the concept of brain. So we will be discussing about the structure of neurons present in human brain. Now let's discuss the structure of a biological neuron. So, this root-like structure is known as dendrites. This is the cell body. This is known as nucleus. This portion is known as axon, and these endings are known as axon terminal. Now let's go through the function of each part. First is dendrites receive incoming signals through a biochemical process and transmit toward the cell body. That is, dendrites, they receive incoming signals. Incoming signals are received by dendrites, and they pass these incoming signals to the cell body. Now, in the cell body, keep the neuron alive and determines whether it will fire. An output signal is transmitted via an electrochemical process down the axon. That is, now the incoming signals has reached the cell body. So as the cell body begin accumulating these incoming signals, a threshold function is reached at which the cell fires and the output signal is passed down the axon. And in the axon, it passes chemical signals to the neighboring neurons across a tiny gap known as synapse. So what is a synapse? As we know that there are interconnected neurons in human brain. So at the ending of one neuron, there will be beginning of another neuron. Like this. So there is a gap. So the gap between the ending of one neuron and the beginning of the dendrite of next neuron is known as synapse. This gap is known as synapse. So when the electrical signal reaches the axon terminal, they generate a chemical reaction which produces chemicals, and these chemicals, they cross this gap and reaches the dendrites of next neuron, and the process goes on similarly. So once again, let's see the entire process. That is, the incoming signals are received by the dendrites and passed to the axon of the neuron. So as the cell body begins accumulating these incoming signals, a threshold function is reached at which the cell fires and the electrical impulse is transferred to the axon, and they reach the axon terminals. At the axon terminals, these electrical impulse are converted to some chemicals and these chemicals, they cross the gap between the two neurons, which is known as synapse, and reach the dendrites of the next neuron. So this is the functioning of a biological neuron. In the next session we will see how a artificial neuron works.